In this video, I want to cover how the plumbing works in a typical home. Everything we do pretty much relies on plumbing when you think of it for a second. Whether it's washing your car or brushing your teeth before going to bed, you're using your home's plumbing system. So let's go through each process one by one and talk about what they do. Let's start off with the drains. Most homes have either ABS, PVC, or cast iron drain pipes and vents. These pipes are connected to all the fixtures in the home, such as toilets, sinks, bathtubs, and showers. When the fixture is used, the waste is carried inside these drain pipes that have a slight slope to them down the main drain, up until it reaches the municipal drain under the street. As for pipe sizes, most toilet drains are 3 inches, kitchen and bathroom sinks are 1.5 inches, or 2 inch if it's wet vented, and showers and bathtubs are 2 inches by code. The main stacks are either 3 inches or 4 inches depending on what the code asks for in your municipality. But some homes don't have municipal services, so how do they get rid of their waste? Simple. The main drain pipe that would normally go to the sewers goes into what's called a septic tank. This septic tank, which is either concrete or polyethylene, separates the solids from the liquids and flows into a leach field or drain field, which then goes into the ground to get naturally filtered. The solids, though, eventually need to get pumped out by a vacuum truck to make sure it functions properly. As for potable water goes, it comes from the street like the other services and typically has between 40 to 80 psi of pressure. Every home with a water supply from the city has to have a shut-off valve outside just like this, in case the city needs to close the water. This copper line, which is normally 3/4 of an inch in size, comes into the basement through the concrete slab to another shut-off valve, which is only accessible to the homeowner. Here we see the hot water tank. Your hot water tank, which is either electric or gas-fed, is fed cold water to then heat it up and distribute it throughout the house thanks to the city's pressure. Some homes still have CPVC or copper lines, but new constructions use mostly PEX as it's reliable and quick to install. So, back to before's question, how does one get water if there's no municipal services? In rural areas, people use wells. A well is basically a hole that's drilled approximately 500 feet in the ground to access groundwater via pumping. This water is pumped back up and goes through a series of apparatuses to make the water drinkable. When it rains, all of this water has to go somewhere, right? The rain that falls on the house's roof trickles into the gutters. Now, the gutter's job is to divert the water away from the house to prevent water infiltrations. So what most people do is install a 5-foot piece onto the downspout so the water has somewhere to go, which is perfectly fine. Other people prefer recovering this water in barrels to use as non-potable water to water their plants and flowers. So where does all of this waste and rainwater go once it's in the municipality's hands? Both of these services head down the road, which eventually need to be lifted at a lifting station, which pumps the storm and wastewaters back up so they don't go too deep. The rainwater dumps itself into a nearby river, and the waste continues to the sewage treatment plant where it passes through multiple filters and treatment stages to then be released back into the nearest river, and the cycle continues. The water from the river is filtered and pumped back into the city's main as potable water, which is safe to drink. And that's basically how your plumbing system works.
And today, we're going to be talking about pipe fittings. What is a pipe fitting? Well, pipe fitting is this little guy right here. It's basically a threaded fitting that comes in different shapes to make different plumbing configurations. So they can be T's, like this is, elbows, you have Y fittings, you have couplings, reducers, there's all kinds of different pipe fittings. What is a pipe fitting used for? Well, basically a pipe fitting is used to join pipe in a plumbing configuration. So if you were to plumb your entire house, you would want to have these little fittings at different parts of your house in order to branch off the water supply or bend the water supply so that it goes around a corner. So that's basically what a pipe fitting is used for. What are the different pipe fittings and how do they work? Well, there are a variety of different pipe fittings. You've got elbows that bend the water at 90 degrees or 45 degrees. You've got a pipe that comes in on this T and then it goes out on this T and it makes a 90-degree bend in the plumbing configuration. You can use it to have the water routed behind walls so it can turn. T's will branch off a line so that way you're feeding different parts of your house, and couplers link pipe together so that you can run long lengths of pipe. How do you know which pipe fitting you need? Depends on what kind of pipe you already have in your plumbing configuration. So if you have copper tubing that's going through your house, you're going to need copper fittings. If you have CPVC, you're going to need PVC fittings. If you have PEX tubing, you might need a variety of different PEX fittings or some kind of a configuration that's going to work for PEX. So it depends on what you've actually got in the application that you're trying to put fittings into. Is a pipe fitting measured by ID or OD? That's a pretty good question. ID, which is inner diameter, is the measurement that we would use for NPT pipe fittings. It's not going to be a precise measurement if you put a ruler up to it, but it is measured by the inner diameter. What is NPT thread size? Well, NPT stands for National Pipe Tapered. And basically what that means is that the threads taper in. You can see it just very slightly on this fitting here. And what that basically means is that when you thread this in, it compresses against the other threads. You still need Teflon tape in order to thread these together. And in order to understand thread sizing, please check out our video on thread size and thread type. Well, that's all the time we have today for pipe fittings. Be sure to subscribe to this channel if you'd like future videos, and give this video a like.